Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel, Blue Lady Couture. So it's been a little while since I've recorded a sewing video and here I am, finally. I am back in the sewing room with a new video for you guys, and I have decided that in this video I'm going to be making myself a new corset. Now I've decided on this for a number of reasons. One, back end of last year when I started planning my projects for 2024, some more Victorian pieces and a new corset was kind of on my to-do list, and this year has actually rather fortuitously presented itself with the opportunity to make myself one. So that's one reason. Second reason, because I've not put a sewing video out for quite some time, I could do a video that really feeds the YouTube algorithm. And if there's one thing that feeds the YouTube costuming algorithm, it's the word corsets, because forever the debate will reign as to whether corsets are an instrument of torture or whether they're an amazing piece of sculptural fashion. And then the third reason, Mr. BLC and I have found ourselves with the opportunity to go to a gala evening for which I need something to wear, and of course, you know me, I've got to make myself something to wear. I can't just go out and buy something. No, I've got to make myself something. And I thought the ideal opportunity would be to make myself a nice new evening corset. Gala evening itself has a theme to it. It is black and white themed. So my plan is to use my current evening corset as a basis, really. I'm essentially going to be copying this design, but swapping over the fabrics, so it'll have a white base with black detailing on it. Of course it fits me nicely, but it is a few years old now and I could just do with a smidge more room in the waist, perhaps a smidge more room in the bust, just to make it a little bit more comfy to wear. Now I know some of you might be aghast at the idea of me wearing the corset, you know, as outerwear. I think they'd just be such beautifully designed pieces, beautiful shaping detail, that, you know, why hide them? You know, you can, when you've got the fashion fabrics all working together and the lines all flow with the boning channels, they can just be so beautiful and flattering, and obviously they can be a real conversation starter as well. And yeah, and I just really love to wear them for evening events. In terms of fabrics, I'm going to be using some plain black cotton coutil. So this is a proper corsetry coutil. So it's a very strongly woven, tightly woven, sturdy fabric specifically for corsetry. And this will be used as the base for the corset, so it'll help with the base structure, the boning channels, and support all the boning and the eyelets and things like that. But you're not really going to see that. That's obviously going to all be on the inside. But obviously we'll go for a black and white theme, so black base fabric would be ideal. And then I have got, I kind of wanted to use some pieces that are in my stash, so I have this silk fabric which is left over from a project several years now. I've had this such a long time. This is a kind of a slightly iridescent lame silk dupion. So it has a little bit more of a sheen to it. It's a bit more ivory than white, but I think it will be okay. I don't really like wearing white, so a little bit of a warmer off-white would be quite nice. So this is going to be the main fashion fabric of the corset. And then some of the details, I'm going to be using black faux silk taffeta, so it's polyester taffeta, and this is a really nice quality taffeta. It's the same taffeta that I use for all of my bustles, my Josephine underskirts, and things like that in my classic collection. And it's just a little bit more higher quality than, I want to say, kind of your basic prom dress taffeta that you might see in fabric shops, that does have that kind of very polyester kind of look and feel to it. This faux silk taffeta, so although it's still polyester, it's just got something different about the way it's made and the way it's woven, that's just really beautiful. So my plan is to combine the corset with one of my Josephine underskirts. You'll have seen me wear these in other, if not full videos, certainly in shorts, and photo clips and that on my social media. Again, just another beautiful full flowing taffeta skirt. I use it kind of as either bases underneath some of my bustle dresses or bustle over skirts, but they also look really beautiful on their own, and they look equally beautiful when they're teamed with a corset. And yeah, I just think it just makes the most stunning evening ensemble. The other thing I think I'm going to do is, although in some circles when I wear my corsets, I don't have an issue being strapless and being a little bit more revealing, but on this particular occasion I probably don't want to be too revealing and just be a little bit more demure, but obviously while not losing kind of the effect of the corset, especially kind of on the waist. So what I'm thinking of doing is adding in a kind of a one shoulder asymmetrical chiffon piece across the, obviously from shoulder on the front down across the front, and the same on the back, just to fill in kind of the chest area a little bit more. I say, where of course it can sometimes be a bit of a conversation starter, and obviously in certain crowds it can be distracting to certain members of society, shall we say. And another reason is, and a reason why I haven't done much filming recently as well, is I've had some health issues at the back end of last year, and I've been on some medication, and the medication unfortunately caused me to have awful flare-up of a kind of acne, both on my chest and again and on my chin and on my face. So thankfully it's calmed down now as the medication has settled down, but yeah, it just left me feeling really self-conscious and really not wanting to show any kind of like skin too much. So while I was at a vintage fair a couple of weeks back, I was on the lookout for a kind of corsage or some hair flowers that might fit with the theme, and I found this. And I thought that could perhaps be really pretty on an asymmetrical one shoulder top to just sit there. And then I've also got some matching hair flower combs as well. I've not 100% decided what I'm going to do with these yet and how I'm going to do my hair, but I've got two of those, and then I've got this larger corsage piece as well. But I thought that would be really pretty. So yeah, so that is the plan for today. See how well I get on with this. I don't know how long it's going to take me. Obviously, of course, if they're not too complicated in terms of the paneling, if they're just kind of straight up and down panels, they don't take too long. But I do need to obviously pull out my patterns, check over the pattern that I've made sort of for this one. Obviously I need to add in a little bit more room to it, but yeah, other than that, I'm hoping it won't take too long. She says, famous last word, you wait 3 weeks time, I'll still be making this corset. Trying to not be too much of a perfectionist with it, but yeah, this is me. And yeah, so that's what the plan is for today. So do follow along, and also don't forget, if you subscribe to my channel, you'll be notified every time my videos go out. So hopefully I'm going to get this all done in one video, but there are times when I waffle on, show you too much detail, and the video ends up being, you know, an hour or more long, and I'll end up splitting it into multiple ones, but hopefully not. Obviously, as you can see on here, this is the front. It's in two halves. I always keep the lacing done up together at the back because it just makes it easier. So when you're putting it on, you just then need to tighten it. All you have to do is fasten up the bust clips. On this particular design, for some reason, I only had a short bust. Oh, that's right, I think I bought it for an underbust corset, but then I decided I wanted to do an overbust corset, so I came up with this way of just having the bust in the lower section, and I laced up the top section. I'm just going to get my pattern pieces and lay them over here, and hoping they're not going to be too far out. So you can just see where I have tweaked the length slightly on the final front here. I suspect what I did is probably make the length longer overall, and then I've probably recut the shape once it was together and I was sort of wearing it. But the top line is pretty much spot on, and I can just see that actually this corset, I have taken in the bust on the corset compared to this pattern piece, so it is possible I may not need to add any more to the bust section like I thought I would. I might be able to just use the pattern as it was, but I can make it up, check the fit, and then if needs be, I can just take in this upper seam till it's in the right place for me. So yes, I'm now just going to check the other panels and go from there. As I said, but I suspect that the this back panel is basically where I'm just going to add in a little bit extra. It's not going to need to be much, because that's the thing with corsetry. You can very quickly add, you know, by the time you add in, you know, a centimetre on one seam, that's 2 centimetres across, you know, both halves of the corset. So you know, you very quickly add up to, you know, adding too much in. Point out that I've got some other additional lacing details on here as well. So this was made for more of like a steampunk kind of feel. So there's extra lacing details over on the hip gauze and things as well. So but I'm not going to be adding those in on my new corset. I'm going to keep it quite clean and simple, and not sort of too overdone. God, I hate couture. Wait till I get to the sewing machine. Oh boy. Look at that pin. Can you see that? What even is that? So I'm currently just doing what we call rolling the seams for corsetry, which is basically where where I'm layering up the couture fabric with the fashion fabric, which in this case is this lovely silk dupion. But what you find when you do that is when you turn the seams, the layers don't lay completely flat and smooth. And the reason for that is because when you've got two layers like this, when you fold the seams over, the outer layer has to go a fraction further to curve under and reach the same point. So yeah, so you can tend to find that your layers can shift when you're putting your corset together. And a way to combat this is to basically roll the seams. So if I just unpin where I've got it pinned under at the moment, can you see how the silk layer is just a fraction bigger? It's not sitting quite flat on the couture. But if I then fold the seam edges over, ta-da! Clever, isn't it? But yeah, it's just one way to get that neat, smooth finish on your corset panels if you're using a fashion fabric layer. Is do roll pinning. So that's just what I'm doing, and so I've got to do that on each of the panels, which is a bit of a bind, but yeah, that's corset bind. So fun. Okay, so here is just a very initial quick first fit, just to make sure I haven't gone completely off piece with anything. And yeah, as you can see, it's not bad. It's at the moment there is no boning in this, so I've literally just seamed the seams. Is that technical? Seamed the seams. I've just very quickly just seamed the front where the busk would be, just to anchor it together. And on the back I have these pre-done mock-up corset lacing panels. So yeah, so this is just a first initial fit. So yeah, there's no other boning in it, which is why it is collapsing just a little bit. If I stand naturally, you can see it is just collapsing a little bit under the weight of my upper body. But if I stand up straight, you can see straight away it lifts up. And I think once I've got the boning in and it's under that vertical tension, you see that is just going to lift some of the little wrinkles and things out, so it just should just smooth everything out. So yeah, so that's fine. I'm fairly happy with that. You can see I have just left an opening in the hips here. As I was cutting it out, I just kind of suddenly thought, well, as I was kind of putting it together, I kind of was just thinking it seems a little bit snug on the hips. And when I look at the the original corset that I used the pad for, obviously it's got the hip lacing gauze. So to be honest, I think what I did on the original pattern is basically it left a bit of room in there, or not enough room, I should say, for the actual hips, so that the lacing would be more of a feature. But what I'm going to do, I'm just going to put some hip gussets in here with the white silk and the couture underneath, just to fill that in, and that'll be fine. You know, that's a perfectly reasonable thing to do on corset pieces, just to give yourself that little bit more extra hip room. Obviously, you see I am wearing, it's not the actual skirt, but this is a dark purple version of the same skirt that I already have. So I can see how the fit is over the fullness of the skirt. It's quite gathered at the back. So yeah, the only bit I've got a little bit of concern about is just here. It's just buckling a little bit. So it could either be because obviously it's not got the boning in, so it's not giving enough vertical tension. But I'm not sure if it's just collapsing a little bit too much. I just might need a little bit more curve in this back seam, just at the waist here. I think especially when I've got a fuller skirt on, I've just got a little bit more kind of spring, which is basically the spring. Your spring is normally it's a hip spring, but it's it's kind of the difference between your waist and your hip and that kind of curve. And that, yeah, that we call that the spring. So yeah, I might just need to fiddle with that a little bit more. But otherwise, I'm very happy to carry on, get the boning channels in, probably put the busk in, and yeah, and then just do another fit at that point before I go to all the effort putting the eyelets in the back. And after, yeah, obviously you've got the decorative detailing to go on, where I want the black kind of channels just to sweep down, which is going to just help with that kind of narrowing of the waist. But otherwise, not a bad start. Onwards. Also, this is proof you can lace up a corset yourself. Skin now, so I'm just going to quickly show you how I do that. So obviously I've got my two busk pieces here, and I've got the front of one side of the corset. I'm also going to need the facing pieces that I cut out of couture, and there's one for each side. If I get these the right way around, they should sit on there like so. Then what we're going to do is that will be stitched down the centre front line, and then it will be folded over and back on itself, and then stitched down in place on the back, and it will create boning channels down the front. But we need to incorporate the bust pieces in it. So the first one I always do is this side with the loopy pieces on. Busk away, and then basically I need to stitch in between each of these, leaving the gap where the loops will poke through the seam. Okay, so that is stitched in place, and I've just pressed it over to keep it nice and neat. So now I just need to wiggle this into place. So now what I'm going to do is basically run a stitch line using my zipper foot so I can get up right close to that boning, that steel edge. Yeah, just run a straight stitch all the way down there, and that will lock then the busk in place. So again, we will take our facing piece, excuse a little bit of thread, and pop it on there. But this time I'll just be doing one single stitch down the seam line, because obviously we don't need, these knobbly bits aren't going to poke through the seam on the side. So that facing is stitched in place now. So now I need to line up where the busk is going to go, and to do that, get the other side of the corset and line them up. Just realised my chalk's not going to fit through that hole. To make my holes to get these things through. The way I do that, first off I take a kind of the fattest needle that I can find, and I just push that through both layers, so the silk and the couture, just where the little pencil mark is. So I don't know what it is. It's so satisfying seeing that neat busk in place. The little clips just so, I don't know, I think it's kind of a level of professionalism about, you know, fitting a corset busk. That just feels like the corset is starting to come together at that point. It can look a bit floppy and a bit, you know, a bit nondescript, sort of before you get the boning in, and it's kind of, the channels aren't sort of solid and secure. But yeah, once you start to get the boning in and the busk in and you see the structure start to come in, it's just, yeah, really, really good. So awesome. That's our next job done. On to the next task.